Welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And I have my special guest. She's the author of the book The Where and the Why. Make your team happy and successful by crafting a clear moonshot and purpose. None other than Miss Clare Treston. Welcome, Miss
Hi, Daniel.
Clare.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, welcome, Miss Clare, on Book 101
Thank you.
Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So I'm in Brisbane, Australia, and I'm a strategic planning expert. So I've developed the where and the why and recently published my book that you're featuring. Thank you for that. So I'm what's known as the where and the why whisperer. So I help teams to formulate their own moonshot and their own purpose statement. And I've come to this through developing the moonshot and purpose for hundreds of teams all over Australia, from the outback to the city, as you can imagine. And it's been heaps of fun. And I just wanted to collect everything that I've learned and put it all into one book.
And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Miss Clare. Thank you. For the title contrast the where, moonshot, and the why purpose, can you unpack the distinction and explain why a team needs both a destination and a deep reason for going there?
Absolutely. And because I have done this so many times and with so many teams, literally hundreds, I realized strategic planning was really complex. But if you can just those two statements and actually at the end of the workshops that I do, or if you read the book and download the templates, there's just a poster and it's got a picture of a rocket ship and the moon on it. And it's got the moonshot statement and it's got the purpose statement. And so it's the where and the why. So you've got your destination and you've got your rocket fuel, which is the purpose is the heart and the energy to get to that destination. So if the strategic plan is simple enough to be on a poster and you can put it on the wall and everyone can see it every day, it really helps everyone in the whole organization to remember where you're going and why you're going there at all times. And it's a bit of an art to get it to those two statements and it to be meaningful for the whole team. But I think it's really, really powerful if you can actually do it. And my book takes you through kind of everything about how to do that yourself.
Powerful indeed. Miss Claire, many companies have a vision statement gathered does. What fundamentally differentiates a true moonshot from a generic, forgettable corporate vision?
Absolutely. So the vision is important, but the vision is usually quite long. So part of my method is you do formulate quite a detailed vision of the future, but from that vision, you choose one thing that's really exciting and motivating for the whole team, and it's just one singular goal that everybody can remember and get on board with. Because the vision, while it is important, it is quite detailed and difficult to remember. So that's the main distinction. And also with the moonshot, I have an acronym called STARS, which is helps you to formulate your own moonshot. So it should be a stretch target. So I say it should be 80% impossible, 20% possible. So usually that is quite different to a vision. So a vision is usually a bit more conservative, whereas a moonshot really pushes the envelope. The other part of the STARS acronym is it should be tangible, so it's measurable and time bound. It should be aspirational, so it's really exciting for the team. It should be relevant, so it's within the realms of possibility. So that's where the 20% possible comes in. So it's within the capabilities of the organization. And then it should also be singular, so just one goal. So you're not, confusing the team with competing goals. There's just one singular goal.
Inspirational for sure. And Miss Claire, you link team happiness directly to a clear moonshot and purpose. What is the psychological connection? Why does a big clear goal actually improve day to day morale more than, say, a pizza party or a bonus?
Well, and that's the beauty of this is that it doesn't actually cost anything. Getting the team together. So part of my method that I recommend is a co-creation method. So you get the team's buy-in and get them to contribute to the vision and the moonshot and the purpose statement. And so, and the way it works with the poster and the moonshot and the vision, the purpose, the where and the why. So it taps into team motivation in terms of the head and the heart. So the moonshot is the rational, and the purpose is the rocket fuel, is the energy. That's the heart. So it's tapping into team members' head and heart, which is really important psychologically to understand and get on board with. And just the simplicity of this is something that everybody in the whole team can remember at all times. And it's literally on a poster. It's two statements. And I detail in the book is making those statements as short and memorable as possible. So the purpose statement, for example, I recommend it should not be over three concepts and it should not be more than 7 words long. So it's something that everybody can recall at all times and remember day to day in their work and decision making. So it's that, and so the goal is exciting, so that's motivational, but then the purpose is really, really important, the why. So remembering, particularly in challenging times when you might have a hard day. I've had clients say to me, that's the times when the purpose, the rocket fuel, the why is when that's the really, really important to kind of motivation to keep going and remember why they're there and why they're all working together every day.
On crafting and the moonshot and purpose, Miss Claire, what is the most common mistakes leaders make when they first try to articulate their team's or company's moonshot? Is it usually the gauge or too small or something else?
So number one is financial. So it should never be a financial target because that is not exciting for the team. And I've actually, I've because I've done so many and I've clustered themes of moonshot types. I've actually categorized 8 types of moonshots, which can be a helpful reference if you're formulating a moonshot. So it's mainly trying to make it something that's really simple and singular and it's exciting for the team is the main thing. So examples of moonshot types is there's 8 types. So there's a quantity moonshot. So that means you're doing a lot. So you're just scaling up. So for example, manufacturers want to make more and more of so it's a sort of number of widgets. Or could be the context that ticket sales, so theirs was enabling 30 million experiences. Another one is customer acquisition moonshot, so getting a certain number of ideal customers. Another one is geographic, so that can be expansion or it can be also kind of drilling down and wanting to own a region. Another one is leadership excellence, which is kind of positioning yourself as a leader in the market. So, and also could be sporting teams and that sort of thing who want to be the best at something. A new business model moonshot. So that's for a company wanting to flip their business model. Innovation moonshot. So the original moon landing was an innovation moonshot. Um, Social impact. So a lot of not-for-profits have that kind of a moonshot. And then environmental as well, which is it could be about waste reduction or it could be about environmental impact. So they're kind of examples of some moonshot types.
Yes, I like that, Miss Claire. 30 million experiences. The book suggests crafting these elements
Yes.
with the team, not just for them. Can you walk us through the practical step of how to facilitate a session that uncovers a genuine shared purpose?
Right. So the purpose is a little bit trickier than the moonshot because it's the heart. So it's often a little bit harder to articulate. So again, I've got a acronym to help teams with developing that. So it's called ethos. So it's first of all eternal. So it should last forever. Secondly, it needs to be true. So that's really important if employees see, leaders saying one thing and doing another. So it needs to be true. It needs to be heartfelt. So there's an emotional connection for the team. It needs to have a sense of oneness. So it's unifying for the team. And it needs to be simple, as I said before. So less than three concepts and less than seven words. Um, but in terms of the actual process, it's a lot of kind of word association exercises that I recommend. One activity is asking the team, first of all, why did they start with the organization? Secondly, why did they stay with the organization? And thirdly, what they're most proud of. And then you kind of take notes and listen to themes. And then, yeah, that can kind of help you to start to think about the impact the company has and why people come, get out of bed every day and come and join and do their best every day.
Miss Claire, how do you balance the need for a moonshot to be wildly inspirational with the practical need for it feel credible and not like a pie in the sky fantasy for a team?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So some teams they overshoot and sometimes they undershoot. So it's important. One of the first things to do when you're formulating a moonshot is to do a little business case around it and validate it once you've come up with it. Because I have had teams that they achieve the moonshot very quickly. So like a 3 or 4 year moonshot, they'll achieve it in 6 months. Or on the other end of the scale, they'll shoot too big and then they're a bit disappointed when they don't reach it. So it's important once you kind of come up with the moonshot is just run a few scenarios around it, and you want it to be 80% impossible. So it's exciting, and honestly, most people achieve it and achieve it quicker than they think. But yeah, you want to make sure it's not too far out there. So it's otherwise it's discouraging for the team. But you also don't want it to be too easy because otherwise you'll do it very quickly. And sometimes when my clients do achieve it quickly, we do a Mars shot workshop to go, okay, well, you've done that already, so let's think again and think bigger. So I mean, you could do that as a stepping stone. You could go a little bit smaller if you wanted to, and then if you achieve that quickly, you can do a Mars shot after that. So yeah.
Miss Claire, for an established team that has been stuck in a grind mindset, how do you initiate a reset to even start this conversation about purpose without it feeling like just another management fad?
That's a good question. And I have worked with a lot of teams. It's a real change agent, this process, and getting the leadership team and additional team members kind of on board and aligned. It can be a real change agent for the organization. And often, there might be generational change or a merger and acquisition or a need for a little bit. This can be the fresh start that you need to kind of reset and go, okay, let's think bigger, let's work together, let's come together and, dream a bit bigger and what we could actually do if we all work together. But yeah, it does take commitment from the leadership team and the rest of the team to, go through this process and, to what you have to want to go on the journey. Moonshotting can be very challenging and can be very tiring. So you have to be committed to the journey. You have to want to go to that destination because there's no point even doing the exercise if there isn't that commitment there.
Miss Claire, as an author, what are your short term and long term goals?
Well, I have a moonshot myself.
Yes.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be practicing what I preach. So, and I've been telling people that they should be doing their end of the decade, so similar to the original moon. landing when JFK announced we choose to go to the moon by the end of the decade. So I'm challenging everyone, including your listeners, to think about by the end of the decade, dot, dot, dot. So fill in the blank. So for me, I would like to make 50,000 teams happy and successful by the end of the decade. So that is my ambition and my purpose for doing that. So my where and my why. My why is making teams happy and successful using creativity. So because that's one of my strengths is creativity. So that's where my heart lies.
On implementation and daily practice, Miss Claire. And good luck to your goals. And well, looking forward for more
Thank you.
success, especially this coming 2026 and beyond. Once the moonshot and purpose are defined, how do you keep from becoming just words on a wall?
hmm Well, words on a wall is helpful because at least everyone can see it and it's not a document that's on a shelf and no one looks at it. So, but yes, that is a very, very good point. So I really encourage, and the beauty of Moonshot is it's measurable, right? So you figure out how you're going to measure it, and then so a lot of clients do it different ways. You can have, a scoreboard, or you can do monthly email updates, or you could have a Google Doc, or there's lots of different ways to do it. But yes, at the time you sort of set the moonshot, you need to decide how you're going to measure it and how you're going to communicate it. So Oztick's the client that I mentioned before. So every month they send their team an email to let them know how they're tracking. They have, celebrations when they hit their targets. But that communication and momentum is really important because otherwise, you know, it's on the wall, but you don't know how you're progressing against it. And it keeps that sort of sense of energy and excitement and keeps the team engaged in trying to, to get to that target. But yeah, absolutely
Hmm.
transparency in there's going to be setbacks as well, so you're not always going to, especially if it's 80% impossible, you're not always going to be on track to hitting that, and that's fine. You just need to be transparent with the team. We didn't make it last month, but hey, let's keep going. But yeah, anything that's can be measured in real time and updated and visual is really helpful. But yeah, it's interesting though. Once you have that moonshot, a lot of clients talk about their team having hearing, overhearing conversations of teams discussing ways that they can get to that moonshot, and whatever they're doing, is this contributing towards that moonshot? So it really helps employees and team members to connect with their daily job of how is this contributing to the bigger picture. So it's really quite effective.
Miss Claire, what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be an author like you?
Okay, so I was really fortunate to be referred to a writing group called Useful Authors, founded by Rob Fitzpatrick. So it has been really useful to be part of a community, and there's a lot of resources and tools in there. So I found that very helpful. I don't think I would have written the book without that sort of support around me, to be honest. So yeah, I would recommend. I mean, this useful books is for books that are useful and practical. So it might not be for everyone, but finding a community I think can be really helpful. And just for accountability, motivation, providing like all of the tools and resources on how to do was really and I'm still doing weekly accountability with people there, and even though I'm published, there's still a lot to do in terms of promotion and all of that sort of thing. So just being part of that community, I would recommend. Yeah, it's really helpful.
Thank you for that advice, Miss Claire. And can you please recommend a book of books that influence your journey?
Yeah, sure. So, of course, within my book, I reference the Start With Why by Simon Sinek quite a lot because I use that his methodology for the purpose statement formulation. So I reference that. I've sort of simplified it down a bit because I've sort of done all these workshops in the field and learnt what I think works best. But absolutely, his sort of structure I use. The Purple Cow by Seth Godin, of course, is really influential for me. I sort of have a background in brand and marketing, and I think that's helped me to get. I also do values workshopping with clients, so I try to make values that are really fun and engaging and not boring. So Purple Cow, of course, has been really useful. And there's actually an academic research paper that helped me with the moonshot part of my book, which was Professor Andrew Carton at Wharton University, who wrote a paper called "I'm Not Mopping the Floors, I'm Putting a Man on the Moon," which was based on the story about JFK meeting a janitor, and that was his response. So yeah, they're three sort of pieces of writing that have been really supportive for this book in particular.
Yes, and thank you for that recommended, Miss Claire. And you talk about making team happy and successful. How do you use the moonshot as a tool to resolve conflict or prioritize projects when team members have competing ideas?
So this is the beauty of the moonshot is because it is a singular goal. Usually organizations have a lot of smart goals which are competing. So the beauty of the moonshot, which is really important to think about it and formulate it align with that goal. So usually, if there are other priorities, you're looking at the moonshot and going, okay, what's going to help us to get to that moonshot? So that should resolve those sort of issues in terms of competing priorities because there's just one goal rather than lots of little goals because that can be distracting and confusing for team members. So yeah, the moonshot can actually resolve that issue quite a lot. And in terms of the happy and successful, the that I've got the why is sort of the happiness, and the successful is the moonshot. Is how I've kind of phrased that in terms of my book.
Miss Claire, if you had to advise listeners to adjust one thing tomorrow morning to start applying the book's principle with their team, what would the first step be?
So I have quite detailed instructions on how to actually formulate this yourself. So the first half of my book is sort of describing what a moonshot is, and the stars principle and ethos principles, and the types of moonshots and the types of purpose statements. And then the second half of the book is how to actually do it yourself. So yeah, there's activities in there. It should actually only take one day to do the whole. So basically, you get your team together, you work on your vision, which we discussed at the start, and then from the vision, you narrow that down to a singular moonshot, and then following that, you work on the purpose activities. So they're kind of more abstract and emotional and a bit touchy feely, and it's a little bit trickier to do, but there's instructions in the book to do that. And then following that, there's also instructions on how to formulate your values and behaviors, which will support your moonshot and your purpose. And then there's also instructions on how to create an implementation plan. There's templates actually on my website that are free to download, where you can make your own poster and your own plan and all of that. So yeah, it's pretty step by step. You can do it yourself pretty easily. But yeah, all the instructions are in there in the book. So buy the book is the first recommendation.
Yes, baby steps. People, baby steps. Before we wrap up our discussion for today, Miss Claire, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season. Abstract poetry in a second season. And my book 101 review is coming sixth season next year. Comedy 101 the third season, and Food 101 is already sixth season, people. Geography 101 Love letters, Movie 101 review, Music 101, our fourth season, Science 101, Sex 101, in its second season, My Baby podcast, Mental Health 101, Law 101, Bible Verses 101, Entrepreneurship 101, and of course, Motivation 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So finally, one personal note, what is your own moonshot in writing this book? And what is the core purpose that drove you to share this message with the world, Miss Claire?
Yeah, so I mentioned before, so my personal moonshot is to make 50,000 teams happy and successful by the end of the decade. And making teams happy and successful using creativity is my purpose. So my strengths are creativity and fun. So that's why I've tried to make the book and everything I do and all of my workshops and engagements to be fun and creative so that they're not boring.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Miss Claire, thank you. And can you please invite our listeners to support your book?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. So yeah, my website, thewhereandthewhy.com, is where you'll find inspirational stories, links to my book, and everything else that you need is all there.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Clare Treston because if you support her, for sure, more and more empowering books like this to rise. So, Miss Claire, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for having me.
Monica, people, see you soon.